you ever find yourself wondering if you're being hard on someone you love or if it's really them losing sight of what's important? I found myself knee-deep in that dilemma recently, and it all started when I realized my best friend was starting to drain my energy more than I ever anticipated. So let me take you back a little. My name is Emily, and I'm 22 years old. My best friend, Jessica, is also 22, and we've been inseparable since middle school. For a long time, our friendship felt like the kind of bond you read about in movies, full of laughter, adventures, and the occasional late-night ice cream binge. But everything shifted when I moved to a new city to be closer to my family. I lived alone for a year before Jessica made the brave decision to join me. She hoped this would help her move forward with her life and deal with her mental health struggles. Things were pretty good for a while. We found a cute 3-bedroom house with a third roommate, and I was excited to have my best friend under the same roof again. But life, as it often does, threw a curveball. Jessica's mental health took a serious nosedive after moving down. She ended up in the hospital twice in just a few months, and she eventually quit her job, which she had tried to keep up with but found overwhelming. At first, I was willing to help her financially. I mean, we always promised to have each other's backs, right? But as time went on, I started noticing some patterns that made me anxious. She was spending the little money she had on things that seemed trivial. Meanwhile, I was over here working 5 days a week and coming home to try to keep our house running while she sat in her room playing video games. In my mind, I thought, I get it. You're struggling. I understood her anxiety surrounding her finances, so I kept telling myself that this phase was temporary. But when Jessica started talking about having plans to end it all, it shook me to my core. I'd spend hours calming her down and reminding her that it does get better. I'd even helped her land a job back in December, but after just a few shifts, she came to me and said she couldn't handle it. I understood the stress after nearly a year of not working, but part of me wondered if she was using her anxiety as an excuse. Fast forward a few months, and nothing changed. She wouldn't leave the house, hardly dressed, and it broke my heart seeing her stuck in this cycle. I'd come home from a long day, wanting nothing more than to unwind, only to find her glued to her gaming setup. I felt frustrated and helpless. I'd talk to her about it, sharing my own struggles with mental health, hoping she'd see how vital it is to get outside, connect with the real world, and find joy in new experiences. Every time, she'd nod along, but nothing ever changed. It began to suffocate me. I just wanted a friend who could engage with me about life outside the screen, someone who could reciprocate our friendship a little. I found myself dreading coming home from work, feeling like I was walking into a room of stale air. All I wanted was my downtime, but the moment I sat down to relax, Jessica would poke her head out of her room or just silently stare at me, poking away at her game, waiting for acknowledgement. It felt so uncomfortable, almost like I was being robbed of my space. And then, as if things couldn't get any more complex, she started dating someone online. A part of me was happy for her. She deserved a chance at something. But another part couldn't shake the unease, especially with this guy planning to visit while she was still living with me. I tried to express my feelings, but I also knew she was an adult capable of making her choices. So, I ended those conversations with a gentle nudge in her direction. Eventually, I decided I needed to speak to my parents about this whole mess. So I packed my things for the weekend and headed over to their place, desperate for some support. As I talked things through with them, I realized just how much I was carrying alone. It was weighing on me emotionally, and I secretly dreaded going back home to face Jessica again. That night, I sat there on my parents' couch, feeling lost. I hated the thought of setting boundaries with Jessica, but the idea of losing my sense of self in this friendship was terrifying. So I took a deep breath, reminded myself how much I loved her, and resolved to talk to her about the space I needed moving forward. But here's the thing. It's tough knowing that someone you've loved forever might just be using your kindness. I don't know how to find that balance between helping your best friend and preserving your own mental wellness. Now I'm asking you, what would you have done in my position? How would you set those boundaries without feeling like you're pushing someone you love away?